the Army. And I'm looking up hexagram 7 in Wilhelm, and we want line 6, the line at the top. The great prince issues commands, founds states, vests families with fiefs. Inferior people should not be employed. The war has ended successfully. Victory is won, and the king divides estates and fiefs among his faithful vassals. But it's important that inferior people should not come into power. If they've helped, let them be paid off with money, but they should not be awarded lands or the privileges of rulers, lest power be abused. So this is a funny one because it's really got ancient references in it. What I like is it starts with the great prince issues commands as the first part, right? And so that sounds to me like what we're following makes sense from some higher point of view, that some greater, higher authority is the one that's giving these guidance. And maybe that could refer to some of the experts, because we've checked out a number, you especially researched a number of the top experts in nutrition. And so maybe those are the great princes of nutrition, but also we're asking the I Ching as a sage commentary, how's the nutrition going? And from that point of view, this may be also one of the great princes on these are higher points of view, commenting on it. And it starts with the war has ended successfully. Victory's won. There was a whole battle of who should we listen to? Because there were so many different ones and we had to integrate a bunch of them. And then there was battles over giving up foods that we were attached to, that were familiar and friendly, and habits that we had. And then there was a war about finding versions of the really healthy foods that were really attractive and tasty and that we really liked. And so there have been several of those, but we actually are past that phase. So I like that that's been acknowledged, that it was actually pretty difficult in the beginning to do that. And now they said it's important that inferior people, so now that we've gotten this far along, they're saying it's important that you don't put inferior people. So I guess we should not assume that anybody with something marked health food or anybody's new approach to plant-based diets would automatically be good. It's saying not to just listen to anybody in those fields, not to assume that since so far most everything is working pretty well, that we could just add anything else and that would be okay too, as long as it said health food.
Yeah, you really have to look at the food labels and stuff. Especially anything that's even somewhat processed is usually, that's one of the things is inferior people should not be employed. The whole food plant-based diet, it's mostly whole foods in a state that's as close to its natural state as possible. And so anything that's too heavily processed, it starts to have other ingredients and things in it that would not be ideal, and that inferior people should not be employed. There's different levels of that you could follow in this diet, of purity of food. It takes a while to perfect it.
Hexagram 7, line 6, the Army. And I like that it's the Army. You have to get all your troops in order. We've had to rethink our nutrition. We've had to get our cupboards in order. We've had to get our attitudes in order. Say, well, what could we know? Well, I really kind of like burgers. Well, they do actually have these new Beyond Burgers that are quite a bit like that. And so getting all our troops, getting all the elements together and organizing, et cetera, and having a good cause. Why is that we're doing this? Well, there are real health benefits to be considered here, et cetera. So that's some of that anyway. So you have...
okay, so this is Hilary Barrett's I Ching, line 6 in hexagram 7. The great leader has a mandate to found a state and receive the households. Don't use small people. The time for fighting is over. Now the Army's energies must be redirected into building a new world. A more open time is coming, founded on sincere relationships. And there is a profusion of tasks and challenges, all of them new. The task is no longer to pursue a known objective, but to lay the foundations for unknowable future growth. There is no longer any place for aggressive responses, or for people who are reactive and think small. Don't turn to such people. Don't call on your own inner small person. Yeah, I mean, maybe that speaks to me of the ego attachments that we tend to get to certain foods, certain comfort foods or addictive foods like sugar, sugary snacks, salty snacks.
Yeah. Well, I mean, right. Okay.